Hey guys, and welcome to my review of Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe was released August 26th, 2016. It was directed by, I want to say, based on the last name Alvarez, his first name is pronounced Fede, so that's what I'm going with. So it was directed by Fede Alvarez. Hopefully I pronounced that name right. The film stars Stephen Lang, Jane Levy, and Dylan Minnette. The premise of Don't Breathe follows three young thieves who get the chance to break into a place that they know will have a huge score, and they feel like it's going to be even easier because their target is blind. But once they get into the house, they find that things aren't as simple as they appear, and the rest of their night becomes a tension, horror-filled nightmare. To go any further into the plot would be too spoilery, and I'm not going to go into that. So the first thing right off the bat that I felt about this film was, I'm not going to like these characters because the first thing that you see from these characters is they break into somebody's house, they destroy the place, they steal some stuff. One of them urinates on the floor, and they automatically have this unappealing factor to them. And going into a horror movie where your three main characters are unappealing and unlikable is not the way you want to start your horror film. Now granted, as the film starts to progress from that point, you do start to feel for a couple of the characters. One character does have his moral compass, and another one has heartfelt motives. So they do try to add likability to them, but it's really hard when you start out with them unlikable. You gotta do a lot to win your audience back over. But this is a horror film, and it's a modern horror film, and the way that I look at modern horror films is characters are there to be in intense situations, but you're not actually supposed to care about them because there's a good chance they're probably going to die. So let's talk about what this film is in itself, and that is the horror aspect of the film. And I gotta give this film credit, the horror element is actually very, very good. This film is incredibly tense. There is a lot of creepy and chilling moments in this film, I found. There are a couple of jump scare moments, but I feel like they are warranted jump scares, and the overall tension building was actually very well done between the cinematography, some of the sound design, the lighting. All that stuff worked well to build up a pretty intense film. Speaking of the cinematography, there is this really nice one-shot take. There are clear moments where it's been edited, but it's been shot all together to make it look like it's one continuous take. I found that was actually really good. I'm starting to feel like people are starting to get lazy and coming up with new creative ideas, and the long take is starting to kind of overstay its welcome. I'm not saying it was a bad long take, I'm just saying that I feel like they're starting to get overused. But by far the pinnacle moment of this film for me, in terms of technical aspects and just intense moments, is this night vision scene that happens about halfway through the film. Most films, when they do a scene in the dark, the set has been dimly lit so the actors know where they're going and so the audience can see what they're doing. This film, all the lights go out, everything's shot in night vision, and the actors have no idea where they're going. And it really, really helped the tension, not knowing what was going on, and just that overall encompassing darkness, and the fact that the characters didn't know what they were doing. It really elevated that tension. I actually have to give this movie major props for that. Quite possibly my biggest issue with the film is that the film really doesn't know how to end. There were about 5 times where I thought that the film was wrapping up and I was like, okay, we're good. But then it does something else to push the story forward. And at the first couple of times it did, I was like, oh, okay, you've caught me off guard. Good for you. Okay, we're back into the tense moments. Okay, you got me. Whatever. But then when they continually did it, I suddenly stopped believing that the film was going to end. And I actually lost a little bit of interest because every time it baked me out like that, I kind of detracted a bit and kind of pulled away and went, okay, so you don't actually know how you want to end this film, do you, film? And my biggest issue with the whole not knowing when to end is then the film just ends. And I was expecting them to pull another fake out, and I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? Oh, okay, it is over. And that's the problem with all these fake out endings, is when you do actually end, the ending itself feels empty. My other issue with the ending was I felt like it wrapped up a little too neat and tidy in a bow. I read online that they had originally scripted a darker ending, but they didn't want to alienate their audience and have this really dark ending. I think they should have went with the darker ending because it looked like it was lining up for this dark ending, and I was like, you know what? I give you credit for having a dark ending. I'll give you that. And then they kind of tried to wrap things up a little nicer, and I wasn't sure about it. I mean, it's always good to have a nice ending, but I hate in films when they do the cheap move and they go, okay, well, we're going to give you the nice ending, we're not going to give you the dark ending. So while the tension was well done and some of the scenes were creative and well shot, the overall experience for me wasn't something that makes me want to put the movie in again and rewatch it. It's not something that I'm going to be adding to my collection anytime soon, or ever probably. I certainly don't hate myself for watching it. I am actually glad that I did check it out, but it's not something that I'm probably ever going to revisit. So that's my take on Don't Breathe. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't seen it, let me know if you're interested in seeing it. And don't forget to subscribe if you yourself are jonesing for film.